This secret was never meant to come out. For months, Tom Cruise refused to answer one question, no matter how loud the rumors became. Fans connected the dots. Hollywood stayed silent. Until now. Because Tom Cruise has finally revealed the truth about Ana de Armas. And it's not a breakup, not a romance, and not what the media has been selling you. Watch till the end, because his revelation changes how you see him forever. Stop everything, because this is the moment fans have been waiting for. For months, the internet has been buzzing with one question that simply refused to disappear. What is really going on between Tom Cruise and Ana de Armas? It started quietly, almost harmlessly. A dinner spotted by a few insiders. A private conversation mentioned in passing. A handful of coincidental appearances that seemed too perfectly timed to be random. At first, fans brushed it off as nothing more than industry overlap. But then the patterns became harder to ignore. Social media did what it does best. Connecting dots, building theories, and fueling speculation. Some called it just another Hollywood rumor, the kind that fades away as quickly as it appears. Others believe it was a carefully hidden romance, protected from the glare of cameras and headlines. But no matter what side people were on, one thing was clear. The curiosity wasn't going anywhere. What made the situation even more intense was the man at the center of it. Tom Cruise is not known for explaining himself. For decades, he has mastered the art of silence when it comes to his personal life. While the world dissected his relationships, choices, and beliefs, Tom rarely responded. No statements, no interviews, no public confirmations or denials. Silence became his shield. And this time was no different. As the rumors grew louder, Tom said nothing. Every unanswered question only made fans more certain that something meaningful was being hidden. Because when Tom Cruise stays quiet for this long, it usually means there's more beneath the surface. Until now, in a rare and carefully chosen moment, Tom finally decided to speak. Not to satisfy gossip, but to set the record straight in his own way. Those who expected a dramatic revelation or shocking confession were quickly surprised. What he revealed wasn't loud. It wasn't scandalous. And it certainly wasn't designed to feed tabloids. Instead, it was something far more powerful. It was honest. Tom addressed his connection with Ana de Armas with a level of calm maturity that fans rarely see from Hollywood's biggest stars. He didn't rush to define it with labels or headlines. He spoke about respect, understanding, and timing, elements he admitted are often lost in the chaos of fame. He acknowledged that after years of living under constant pressure, he has learned the importance of protecting what truly matters. Not everything meaningful, he explained, needs to be explained to the world. Some connections are real precisely because they exist away from public judgment. And in that moment, everything changed. The story was no longer about rumors or speculation. It became about choice, about growth, about a man who has spent his life in the spotlight, finally deciding how much of himself he is willing to share. Because sometimes the most revealing truths aren't shouted. They're spoken quietly, and meant only for those who are truly listening. Hollywood rumors are nothing new. They appear every day, burn brightly for a moment, and disappear just as fast. But this one felt different. It didn't explode with drama or scandal. It crept in slowly, quietly, almost respectfully, and that's exactly why people couldn't ignore it. Tom Cruise is one of the most famous men on earth, a global icon, a box office legend. Yet behind all the action roles and fearless stunts, he has always been emotionally guarded. Over the years, he has learned to build walls, not out of coldness, but out of survival. Fame taught him that every word can be twisted, and every moment can be misread. Ana de Armas represents something entirely different. She belongs to a new generation of Hollywood, talented, thoughtful, and fiercely independent. She is known not just for her beauty, but for her discipline, her boundaries, and her refusal to be defined by the people around her. She moves through fame with quiet confidence, never chasing attention, never explaining herself. When fans began noticing their growing connection during industry events and private gatherings, curiosity exploded almost instantly. But unlike typical celebrity gossip, there were no dramatic photographs splashed across tabloids. No paparazzi kisses caught in artificial lighting. No carefully staged walks meant to grab headlines. Instead, what people saw were small moments. Quiet smiles exchanged across crowded rooms. Deep conversations that seemed to block out everything else. A sense of comfort rather than performance. And that difference mattered. Those who followed Tom Cruise's life closely noticed something unusual, something subtle but powerful. He looked relaxed, not calculated, not guarded, just present. For a man who has spent decades carrying the weight of expectations, that kind of ease was rare. Friends and industry insiders quietly mentioned that Tom seemed lighter, more grounded, less like the unstoppable movie star, and more like a man simply enjoying a genuine connection. There was no rush, no urgency, no need to prove anything. And Ana? She appeared calm, confident, and entirely unaffected by the massive spotlight surrounding him. She didn't change her pace. She didn't seek attention. She didn't step into his shadow or try to pull him into hers. She remained exactly who she has always been. That balance is what caught people's attention, because in Hollywood, power dynamics often define relationships. But this didn't feel like that. It felt equal, natural, unforced. That's when fans stopped asking the obvious question, are they dating? And began asking something far more interesting. What do they mean to each other? Because sometimes the most meaningful connections don't announce themselves. They don't beg for validation. They don't perform for cameras. They simply exist, quietly, confidently, and just real enough to make the world pause and wonder. When Tom Cruise finally spoke, he didn't give the tabloids what they were hoping for. There were no labels, no dramatic announcements, no carefully crafted Hollywood romance narrative designed to dominate headlines. And that silence, that refusal to play along, said more than any public confession ever could. Instead of feeding speculation, Tom chose honesty, a rare kind of honesty that doesn't perform for cameras or chase approval. He spoke quietly, deliberately, and with a level of self-awareness that surprised even longtime fans. What he shared wasn't a declaration of love. It was something deeper. Tom explained that his connection with Ana de Armas is built on respect, trust, and understanding. 3 things he openly admitted do not come easily in his life. Decades of fame taught him how quickly trust can be broken, how easily intentions can be misunderstood, and how dangerous it can be to let the world too close. For years, privacy was his armor, but peace, he revealed, became his priority. Tom reflected on how living under constant pressure, the expectations, the scrutiny, the endless judgment, had forced him to reevaluate what truly matters. He shared that protecting his inner world became just as important as protecting his public image. And then he spoke about timing. Ana entered his life, he said, at a moment when he wasn't searching for love, validation, or another chapter for the tabloids. He was searching for clarity, for balance, for something that didn't demand explanation. She understands the weight of this world, Tom reportedly said, referring to the life he lived behind the scenes. And she never tried to change it. That single sentence told fans everything they needed to know. Because in Hollywood, relationships often begin with expectations. What someone can offer, how they fit an image, or how they can enhance a story. But this wasn't that. Ana didn't try to fix him. She didn't challenge his pace or question his boundaries. She simply understood them. And that understanding created something rare. This wasn't about headlines. This wasn't about image. This wasn't about proving anything to anyone. It was about connection. Tom made it clear that whatever exists between them is real, not because it's loud or visible, but because it's grounded, whether romantic or deeply personal. He emphasized that it carries meaning, and meaning doesn't need validation. For a man who has spent most of his life performing impossible missions for the world, this moment felt different. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't dramatic. It was human. And perhaps that's why this revelation resonated so deeply. Because sometimes the most powerful truths aren't revealed through grand statements, but through quiet words spoken with intention. And in choosing peace over publicity, Tom Cruise revealed more about himself than any headline ever could. Ana de Armas has never been someone who defines herself by who she's with. From the very beginning of her career, she has made it clear, in both words and actions, that her identity comes from her work, her values, and her inner balance, not from the names she's linked to in headlines. In past interviews, Ana has spoken openly about protecting her independence and emotional health. She has described how early experiences in the industry taught her the importance of boundaries, not just professional ones, but personal boundaries that preserve peace in a world that constantly demands more. According to people close to her, that quiet strength is exactly what drew Tom Cruise to her. She didn't chase his fame. She didn't try to fix him. She didn't demand answers to the questions the world kept asking. And in Hollywood, that is rare. Instead, Ana offered something few people in that world ever do: normalcy. A sense of balance untouched by expectations or pressure. She treated Tom not as a global icon, but as a human being navigating a complicated life under an unforgiving spotlight. Insiders say Ana encouraged boundaries, something Tom himself has admitted he struggled with for years. After decades of pushing limits, breaking records, and living life at maximum speed, slowing down wasn't easy for him. Yet Ana gently reminded him that not every moment needs intensity, and not every day needs to feel like a mission. She showed him that stillness has value. For someone who built an entire career on impossible stunts and relentless momentum, that perspective was transformative. It didn't weaken him, it grounded him. It allowed space for reflection, calm, and genuine connection without performance. Their bond, as described by those close to them, isn't fueled by passion alone. It's rooted in mutual growth, in listening instead of assuming, in understanding instead of demanding. There was no rush to define what they were or where they were going, and that absence of pressure made all the difference. Because for Tom, speaking publicly has always come with consequences. Every word becomes a headline. Every emotion becomes a debate. Silence was a protection, but something shifted. Perhaps that's why Tom chose to finally speak. Because for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel exposed, he felt safe. Safe enough to share a truth that didn't need explanation. Safe enough to acknowledge a connection without labeling it. Safe enough to let the world see a glimpse of something real. And sometimes, safety isn't about hiding. Sometimes, it's about finally trusting the ground beneath you. So, what is Tom Cruise's relationship status with Ana de Armas? The answer is simple and complicated. Tom didn't confirm a traditional romance, and he didn't rush to deny a deep emotional bond either. Instead of choosing between the two extremes the world demanded, he revealed something far more mature and far more telling. He revealed choice. A choice to value connection over chaos in an industry that thrives on noise. A choice to protect something meaningful from being pulled apart by speculation, opinions, and public consumption. And perhaps most importantly, a choice to live life on his own terms, not according to expectations written by headlines or fans. For someone who has spent decades living under constant observation, this choice carries weight. Tom Cruise has lived most of his life performing for the world, delivering perfection on screen while carrying immense pressure off it. And yet, in this moment, he chose restraint instead of revelation. Fans noticed. And surprisingly, the reaction wasn't shock. It wasn't disappointment. It wasn't outrage. It was respect. Because people sensed something genuine in his words, something grounded and intentional. They understood that this wasn't about hiding or denying anything. It was about preserving something real before it could be damaged by exposure. In a culture obsessed with instant access, that kind of boundary feels almost revolutionary. Sometimes, the most powerful love stories aren't loud. They don't announce themselves with dramatic gestures or public declarations. They don't scream for attention or demand validation. They work quietly. They change the people inside them, slowly, deeply, and permanently. And maybe that's the real reveal here. Not whether Tom Cruise is officially dating Ana de Armas, not whether their connection fits a familiar Hollywood narrative, but that after everything he's been through, the fame, the scrutiny, the losses, the lessons, Tom has finally found something worth protecting. Something that doesn't need explanation. Something that doesn't need approval. Something that exists not for the world to judge, but for him to honor. And in choosing protection over publicity, Tom Cruise may have revealed the most honest version of himself yet. Because sometimes the bravest thing a person can do isn't to share everything with the world. It's to keep what matters safe.